to be or not to be is the question. Zimbabwe is at a crossroads. We are at a crossroads as a party, and to be or not to be is the question that Shakespeare posed at some stage in Hamlet. So we don't want to waste much of your time. The President has called for this presser to talk to you, and as usual, we'll open the question and answer session. So over to you, President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, Dr. Tapua Mashakada. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, welcome to this press conference. And I want to thank you for coming at such short notice. I know that today should be a very busy day for you because a lot is happening in our country. With me is the chairman of the party, Mr. Chikovero, organizing secretary of the party, Benevolence Taisekwa, and our secretary for local government, Deputy Mayor of Harare, Lakson Mukunguma. Of course, you know Dr. Tapua Mashakada, our Secretary General. In December 2022, the Zimbabwe Election Commission produced the most objectionable of delimitation reports. This report was condemned by Parliament. It was condemned by all parliamentarians across the political divide. The MDC, being a conscientious vanguard of the people, challenged this report in the Constitutional Court. However, after clear interference with the judiciary, the Constitutional Court refused to hear our matter, and the MDC could not get justice for the people. On the 21st of June, the Zimbabwe Election Commission made it impossible for the MDC to pay nomination fees for 87 of its parliamentary candidates. As a result, our candidates were unfairly disqualified for failure to pay nomination fees. Although the Zimbabwe Election Commission extended the deadline by 1 day, they made it clear that the deadline did not apply to the MDC. This was political discrimination and partiality at its worst. No legal or factual basis existed for this type of discrimination. As a result of the actions by ZEC, there was mass disqualification of our people and therefore mass disenfranchisement of thousands of Zimbabwean people. The MDC had no choice but to seek justice in the courts of law. In this regard, the MDC was acting as a law-abiding, patriotic, and responsible party. Despite the fact that the electoral cases are taken as urgent, our matter was only finalized after more than a month. The MDC is the first party to take the matters to court, and it took its matter to court on the 23rd of June. The matter was only finalized on the 1st of August. Other matters by other parties that came after the MDC matter were finalized earlier. While similar or even worse cases were favorably treated by the courts and were favorably granted by the courts, the MDC case, as usual, was thrown out on mere technicalities. Whereas the Zimbabwe Election Commission, in some cases, sided with candidates, sided with political parties seeking enfranchisement. In the case of the MDC, they put a spirited performance, a spirited fight against the inclusion of the 87. For that reason, our people were disenfranchised. For that reason, 87 constituencies have been denied the right to vote. Now, some time ago, the high-level political platform secured funding for training of polling agents. The high-level political platform is a platform which is brokered by the Zimbabwe Institute, and it is made up of 3 political parties represented in parliament. That is the MDC, Triple C, and ZANU-PF. These parties secured funding for the training and deployment of polling agents. And it secured funding to the tune of 3 million euro that was supposed to be used in this regard. The training and deployment of polling agents is important to ensure transparency in an election. As you know, in 2018, about 2,000 polling stations did not have MDC polling agents. And we had thought that we were going to cure this problem. And the money was actually secured from from some of the philanthropic donors. However, the ZANU-PF has blocked this money, with the net result that the MDC and the other parties are unable at least to fund their election agents. This is intended to ensure that there's opaqueness in this election. It is intended to make sure that rigging of elections is expedited, or it is enabled. Our constitution provides that once the election dates have been declared, there must not be change in electoral law. But contrary to all this, just last week, there was promulgation of a statutory instrument to govern postal votes, to govern an aspect of this election. And this is totally illegal. There is no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that this election is not free and it's not fair. The election management body has not displayed the requisite impartiality and fairness expected of it. It has acted vindictively and in a partisan manner against the MDC. There is no doubt that the Zimbabwe Election Commission has decided on who should contest this election. The Zimbabwe Election Commission has decided on who should not be part of this election. Now, I find myself as a president without 87 of my candidates. This is the first time in the history of this country that we have seen mass disenfranchisement, mass disqualification of this number of people. There is no doubt why the MDC is being treated in a different manner from other political parties. It is because the MDC took ZEC to court over delimitation. The delimitation that we fought against is now in force, and its effects are now clear on this election. ZEC, right now as we are speaking, is busy changing boundaries of electoral constituencies. It has added, I think, more than 1,000 more polling stations, because the delimitation report was itself by nature it was invalid. Having seriously considered this, and being a patriotic Zimbabwean, I love my country. I took part in the crafting of the constitution of our land. I believe that the constitution is not there for the decoration. I believe that there is a minimum standard of integrity required in our electoral system. And I believe that the mass disenfranchisement of our people, the discrimination of one party in a country by the election management body is unacceptable. For that reason, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of Section 107 of the Electoral Act, I, with the concurrence of my party, have withdrawn my candidature in this election. We are boycotting this farce. We are boycotting this shame. We are boycotting this presidential election. We come to this conclusion after serious consideration. We come to this conclusion after looking at our founding values. Our aim as the MDC is to take over governmental power through peaceful, democratic, and constitutional means, govern differently and change the lives of the Zimbabwean people for the better. We are left with only 24 constituency candidates. Even if our presidential candidate were to win, he will be a one-week president because he will not be controlling parliament. He will not be controlling the majority in parliament. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the decision of myself as the presidential candidate and the decision of the National Council of the party sitting yesterday. And the Zimbabwe Election Commission was advised of my decision, and we expect it to act in accordance with the law. And the law says that they have to gazette this withdrawal, and I have specifically asked them that they should not include my name on the ballot paper. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Questions? Identify yourself. You take 5 series at a time. Yes.
My name is Mwonzora. I just wanted to find out what the members of parliament, the 2 members of parliament, if they also don't have the candidate going ahead.
Okay.
Sure. The president is noting. Yes. Same question. Okay. Another question? You've won. Yes, check it. Oh, she's asking about the refund. Yeah? Check it. Okay. Next. Okay, the president can warm up with those 3. What you are thinking? President, over to you.
Thank you very much for those questions. NRT Ruimbo. At this point in time, once there is a nomination, once the nomination court has declared candidates, a party cannot oblige its candidates to withdraw. And the decision remains the decision of the individual candidate. However, the National Council ruled yesterday that the candidates for MP, for council can remain because the issues are rather different when it comes to from those of the presidential candidate. So they are remaining should they wish to do so, and we are going to give them as much support as we can in their quest for election. The president would require polling agents in 11,000 polling stations. The president would require a sizable number of parliament to form a government. I was in this election not for the fun of it. I was in this election not for the adventure. I wanted to form a government. And if that is impossible, if that has been made impossible by the election management board, by the political system of this country, then we cannot continue. You've won our 20,000, you say? We don't know. We don't know whether the Zimbabwe Election Commission is going to refund me or not. But there is no greater cost than the enfranchisement of my people to me. 20,000 is nothing compared to the rights of the Zimbabwean people to vote for whoever they want. It is nothing compared to the mass disenfranchisement that has happened in 87 constituencies. The MDC was the only party that wanted to enable even the poor people to contest. And that is why we were paying for our candidates. We had a record number of women candidates, youth candidates, and their participation has been made impossible because of systemic and systematic collusion against the MDC. Their cases have been decided on technicalities. And I want to say at this point in time, the judiciary in this country, starting from the Constitutional Court, has messed up the electoral jurisprudence of our land. Nowhere in the world are election matters, constitutional matters, decided on mere technicalities. Constitutional matters, election matters are decided on substance. And because every time our substance has been strong, every time our cases have been unassailable, the judges have treated our cases on technicalities, refusing to hear us, and we refuse to be part of that facade. Chengetai, you say things which are strange to us. As you can see, I am still the president of the Movement for Democratic Change. As you can see, I am seated here in the Harvest House, flanked by my top officials. My national chairman is here, my secretary general is here, my deputy secretary general is here, organizing secretary is here. The two vice presidents, Mpariwa and Ndlovu, are not in Harare because they are at work. So we are firmly under control. We have the party firmly under control. The National Council yesterday set to decide one issue, and that was the issue of the advisability of the continued participation in this presidential election in the face of this unfairness. And the National Council ruled that it cannot stand for all these shenanigans that are being done by the state, by ZANU-PF, and by ZEC. And the National Council made a principled decision. This decision is not against its president. This decision is against unfairness and impunity in our election system. The National Council said to me, President, you are a constitution maker. Protect this constitution. Defend the constitution of Zimbabwe. Defend the right of the people of Zimbabwe to choose their leaders. And the defense starts now. We have seen a lot of speculations in the paper, in the social media, regarding the vote of no confidence. There is no vote of no confidence that was ever muted by MDC members. On this issue, the MDC family is united. It is its distractors who want to destabilize it. First of all, I want to answer your question about incompetence. My administration is not incompetent. The fact that we fought against delimitation when everybody else was not fighting does not denote incompetence on our part. The fact that we were discriminated against and we sought justice and we couldn't find it is not our fault. It's not incompetence at all. The fact that we wanted our people, including the poor, to participate in the election process because we are a social democratic party is not a denotion of any incompetence at all. For your information, sir, we are the only party that has launched its manifesto. And the manifesto is well written and well thought out. That is not incompetence, sir. And sir, can I dare say that this is not the first time that the MDC has pulled out of an election as a result of unfairness. In 2008, our late president pulled out of the presidential runoff election as a result of the bloodbath that was taking place in this country. As a result of the unfairness against the MDC, he was not allowed to campaign at all. Similarly, I am not allowed to field the candidates of my parliamentary candidates in this election. And I am denied justice. The people are denied justice. And the situation is similar, and we have pulled out. We have boycotted this election because the people are not protected, the vote is not protected, and that is no mark for incompetence. And the other thing, of course, is what people who are our detractors always say. They talk about abuse of funds in the MDC. Well, the MDC has a constitution, and it is the only opposition political party with a constitution anyway. It is a constitution which tells us how finances are handled in this party. Finances in this party are handled by a committee called the Administration and Finance Committee. And in that committee, the president does not sit. In the MDC, under the MDC system, the president does not have financial functions. He does not disburse money. He does not deal with finance. And I find this a question, Chengetai, sorry, I know you are asking on behalf of others. I find it very insulting. Mr. Mwonzora has been a lawyer for more than 30 years. And I have been a lawyer, not a bad one for that matter. And as a lawyer, we are paid for our services. And I make a living out of that. I have been a senator, a leader of the opposition. These are remunerated positions. And therefore, there is no need of pilfering the party coffers. However, should anything of that sort happen, the MDC members would have taken me to the police. The MDC members would have dealt with me. There is nothing like that. The intention of people who spread this false information is to generate a bad name between MDC and its potential donors. And that is the only thing that is there. So there is nothing like that, Chengetai. And my leaders are here. It's testimony that that is not the case. Of course, yesterday, as we were about to start the meeting, a deranged person called Mwonzora was writing something about what had happened in a meeting which had not started. And of course, Mwonzora is a member of the CCC. And it's not difficult to understand why people would do that. This is what they wished, and it will never happen. And I want to say that the MDC is going to the drawing board. We have taken one step backwards in order to take 2 steps forward. This is an intelligent decision. This is a decision that has been well thought out, and we are going back to the drawing board, and one day this party is going to form a government in this country.
Thank you, President. What is better? Prevention is better than cure. You go into the election which you see is clearly rigged, and then you complain after. We don't do such kind of things. Anyway, thank you. Yes?
Thomas, you see a different environment in 2028? To make the same thing you are doing in 2028. Then number two, why are you breaking now? Are you such a partner to break a country?
Thank you. Another question?
Yvonne, there's a mischievous smile on your face.
No, it was almost the same question. I wanted to check what your message will be now that your own members are disenfranchised by your decision to take to.
Correction, Yvonne. Correction. Correction, my dear. Our members are not disenfranchised by our decision. Our members and the people of Zimbabwe have been disenfranchised by the Zimbabwe Election Commission. They have been disenfranchised by that person who has disqualified 87, a record of 87 people in 87 constituencies. That is the person who has disenfranchised our people. And at the time that we made our decision, I made my decision. The disenfranchisement had already happened, Yvonne. Those people were no longer candidates. So the disenfranchisement is not by us. It is by ZEC. And that's why I was dying to correct you there. I don't want to preempt what we are going to do henceforward. But let me just give you a few things. We are going back to the drawing board. We are going back to kickstart a program that will make sure that there will be free and fair elections in this country. Will we succeed in 2028 in doing that? Well, at this point in time, I would like to copy a Chinese saga. Fight 100 battles and win 100 victories. In that regard, victory is certain. We are going to reconnect with the people. The people of Zimbabwe deserve and demand free and fair elections. The people of Zimbabwe deserve and demand a fair election management body. The people of Zimbabwe demand and deserve a fair judiciary. And the people of Zimbabwe abhor selective application of the law. And when there is selective application of the law against us, we must react, and we have reacted. We are not going to be part of the baptism. We are not going to be part of blessing of this shame. This election is a farce. Now, say, the English term that I used was that we are boycotting the presidential election. When you are boycotting the presidential election, you have no one to back. You are boycotting. You are refusing to participate. And therefore, the question you are asking on who are you going to back instead? Why should we back someone to participate in a farce? Why should we beg someone to participate in a theft against the people of Zimbabwe? Why should we beg someone to participate in political crime? Because this is crime against the people. Now, am I going to vote? And am I going to vote in the elections that we have not boycotted? Yes, I am going to vote, and I'm speaking for myself. And what am I going to vote for? I am going to vote for opposition. I've always voted for opposition. I have always been opposition. I have never joined ZANU-PF. At the young age, I opposed the one-party state. I opposed the dictatorship and totalitarianism. The situation has not changed, and therefore my stance has not changed. It is up to individual political parties to continue in the election. The MDC has made its choice. It's up to other political parties. We don't want to spoil their game. We don't want to steal their thunder. It's up to them. We think that it is foolish to continue, and we have moved out of the folly.
Okay, teach sir. Show a question.
Yeah, maybe just a recap.
Yeah.
Recap of the whole thing, sure, but make it
Why can't you do it one-on-one? Because
okay,
you are drawing us back. Because I see you end at late.
late.
If there's no any other questions, I wish to thank you so much, media. Okay, the last question.
That's just a clarification. The president just said he will vote for opposition, so that we do not make mistakes. That we clarify. Which opposition?
Oh, I see. I see you. You look very excited.
No, I do not.
I can see your elation and exhilaration. It's natural. You are a young man, and young people are prone to excitement. My polling station is Nyautare Primary School in Nyanga. The candidates that are there are Jeffrey Chetanga, who is contesting for Ward 8 councillor. I am going to vote for him. The other candidate who is running for MP for Nyanga North is Mwonzora. I am going to vote for him. Both candidates are MDC. I am going to vote MDC. And I am going to vote opposition.
Okay, thank you. I think let's leave it at that. Have a good day. Thank you.
Ayo,